All right, if you're prepping for a big exam, you know that every single mark counts. So today, we're going to do a super quick run-through of the most common grammar traps, the ones that trip almost everyone up. Think of this as turning those frustrating little mistakes into guaranteed points. Let's get into it.
Okay, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start with that classic singular or plural confusion. Then, we'll hit the right word choices, uncover some hidden verb rules you might have forgotten, and finally, we'll decode the tricky world of articles. Pretty soon, you'll be spotting these errors from a mile away.
First up, the big one. This is probably the most frequent point of confusion. And you know what? It's an absolute goldmine for exam questions. We're talking about making sure your subject and your verb are actually on the same page.
Let's kick things off with a classic trap. You see the phrase 5 children, and your brain just screams plural, right? But hold on, is the verb supposed to be plural? This is exactly the kind of question they designed to catch you off guard.
And here is the secret sauce. The real subject of that sentence? It's not children, it's the word every. And you have to remember, words like every, each, neither, and either, they are always treated as singular. That is the core rule you need to lock in.
And this lays it out perfectly. You see how the verb agrees with every and neither? It completely ignores the plural words children and them that come right after. It's such a simple switch once you know what you're actually looking for.
And it's not just those words. This rule also covers a few other key phrases. You're going to want to burn these into your memory. One of, either of, and none of. They all play by the exact same singular verb rule. When you see them, your brain's default setting should just be singular verb.
Now let's get a little more specific, because examiners love testing this tiny detail. Neither and none both take a singular verb. Yeah? But you can't just swap them. Neither is for an exclusive club of 2 items. Only 2. If you've got 3 or more, the word you need is none.
Okay, on to another huge pitfall. Words that look and sound almost the same but do completely different jobs in a sentence. You know the ones. Mixing these up can totally change the meaning of what you're trying to say.
So let's settle the whose versus whose debate once and for all. It's simple, really. Whose, no apostrophe, is all about ownership. Think, whose keys are these? But whose, with the apostrophe, is just a handy shortcut for who is or who has.
Okay, pop quiz. Which one fits in here? Just ask yourself a quick question. Am I talking about something belonging to someone, or am I trying to say who is?
And yeah, of course it's whose, because what you're really saying is, I don't know who is coming to the party. The contraction is the only one that makes any sense here.
And that brings us to another simple but super important split. Who is reserved for people. That's it. For everything else, we're talking objects, companies, even animals in formal writing, the word you're looking for is which.
All right, let's move on to our third section, those sneaky little verb rules. We're going to focus on modal verbs. You know, words like will, should, and can. They have some very strict rules that are just so easy to forget when you're under pressure.
Okay, this one is an absolute non-negotiable law of grammar. After a modal verb, you always use the verb in its simplest, most basic form. We're talking no S, no ED, no ING, just the pure original verb. Let's see this in action. It's never this will explains. It's this will explain. Now the second one's a bit trickier. You might feel the urge to say, he dare not to wear jeans. But after a modal like dare not, you actually drop the 2. It's just dare not wear. So what happens when the subject of the sentence isn't actually doing the action? Well, that's when we use the passive voice. And the formula is like a simple recipe. Just take your modal verb, add the word be, and then follow it with the past participle, or the V3 form of your main verb. So the meeting will be held. Here's a really cool way to think about the word and. Think of it as being, well, loyal. It demands balance. It insists that whatever grammatical form is on one side of it has to be perfectly matched on the other side. So for instance, if you say I used to go, which uses the base verb, any verb you connect with and also has to be in its base form. I used to go and help. It keeps everything perfectly parallel.
And finally, let's tackle a topic that seems so basic, but oh man, it is filled with little traps for anyone who's not paying attention. Articles. Knowing when to use a and the, or sometimes nothing at all, is a seriously important skill.
So here's the big idea. If you're talking about something as a general concept, not a specific, single thing, you often don't need an article at all.
Look at these examples. They make it super clear. Ronaldo doesn't play one particular football, he plays the sport of football in general. We're not talking about a specific song, we're talking about the concept of music. So you just drop the article. Simple as that.
But, and this is a big but, here's a crucial exception that is a total classic on exams. Whenever you use the phrase one of, you are, by definition, picking one person or thing out of a very specific, known group. And that specificity demands the definite article, the.
I mean, think about it. You can't be one of best teachers, because that implies just any random group. You are one of the best teachers, that specific elite group we all know about. So rule of thumb, one of is always followed by the.
So what's the ultimate takeaway from all this? Well, while these rules are your foundation, you have to remember that context is king. The really advanced questions aren't just testing the rule, they're testing if you understand the meaning of the sentence. For example, we said none takes a singular verb, right? But in a rare case where you're emphasizing the individuals, you might see something like, none of the experts agree. It's subtle, but it shows how deep this can get.
And that's our lightning fast revision. You know, the key isn't just about memorizing rules, it's about spotting the patterns. So think about it. Which one of these traps have you fallen into before? Just being aware of them is the first huge step to turning those common errors into guaranteed points when it really counts. Good luck!